The massive Earth fleet emerged from hyperspace like a school of steel fish, their dark hulls reflecting the distant starlight. At the helm of the flagship Terra's Pride, Admiral James Stone watched as the Galactic Council's space station grew larger on the main view screen. The station was beautiful, all sweeping curves and gleaming metal, nothing like the practical, blocky designs of human ships. "Sir, we're receiving transmission from the station," Lieutenant Wilson reported from his communication station. "There?" He paused, frowning. "They're requesting we maintain a distance of at least 10,000 kilometers from the station." Stone sighed. They had expected this kind of reception. Humans came from what the galaxy called a death world, a planet with high gravity, extreme weather, and dangerous wildlife. To the other species of the galaxy, this made humans themselves dangerous by default. "Maintain current speed and trajectory," Stone ordered. "Send back our diplomatic credentials. Remind them that we're here by invitation." The bridge crew worked in silence as they approached the station. Through the viewing windows, Stone could see smaller alien ships hurrying away from their path, like minnows fleeing the shark. It would have been funny if it wasn't so frustrating. The station's docking bay was enormous, designed to accommodate ships from hundreds of species. As Terra's Pride moved into position, Stone noticed that the nearest berths had been hastily evacuated, leaving an empty zone around their designated docking space. "They're treating us like we have some kind of plague," Wilson muttered. "Patience," Stone replied. "We're here to change their minds, not confirm their fears." The docking procedure went smoothly, despite the obvious nervousness of the station's traffic control. As the airlock cycles completed, Stone straightened his uniform and prepared to meet the delegation. He had chosen his best officers for this mission, all of them veterans who understood the importance of appearing non-threatening. The airlock opened to reveal a group of alien officials standing at what they clearly hoped was a safe distance. Stone recognized several species from the briefings: the tall, willowy Brightarians with their luminescent skin, the squat and sturdy rockfolk with their crystalline exoskeletons, and the floating gas-filled aeroforms in their environment suits. "Welcome to Central Station," said one of the Brightarians, their translator making the words sound musical. "I am Coordinator Whiteleaf. We must ask your crew to maintain minimal movement and avoid any sudden gestures. Your physical capabilities cause concern among our people." Stone kept his expression neutral, though inside he was both amused and annoyed. Yes, humans were stronger than most galactic species due to Earth's higher gravity. Yes, they could endure conditions that would kill most aliens. But they weren't monsters. "Coordinator," Stone replied with a careful bow. "No sudden movements, just as requested. We appreciate your welcome. I assure you that my crew is well trained in interspecies protocols. We're here as friends and potential allies." "Potential allies," a rockfolk grumbled, crystals chiming in what might have been derision. "Your species hasn't even finished fighting among themselves." "True," Stone acknowledged. "But we've learned from our conflicts. We've united our world and reached for the stars. We have much to offer the Galactic Council, if you'll give us the chance." The delegation led them through corridors that quickly emptied of other beings as they approached. Stone noticed his officers maintaining perfect composure despite the obvious discrimination. They had trained for this, but it was still hard to be treated like walking disasters. The meeting chamber was large and circular, with seats designed for various physiologies. The human delegation was assigned to one section, while the other species maintained a clear gap around them. "We will now review your petition for trading rights," Whiteleaf announced. "Be advised that many council members have expressed concerns about allowing Deathworlder ships free access to civilian space lanes." Stone settled into his seat, preparing for a long session of diplomatic wrestling. But before Whiteleaf could continue, emergency lights began flashing throughout the chamber. A high-pitched alarm cut through the air, making several aliens flinch. "Central Command reporting," a voice announced. "We've lost contact with the Green World colony. All transmissions ceased approximately 20 minutes ago." No response to any signals. The chamber erupted in chaos. Stone watched as the aliens argued among themselves, their composure cracking. He had a feeling that humanity's status as dangerous Deathworlders was about to become much less important. Sometimes, he thought, a galaxy needed dangerous people. The council chamber had turned into a scene of barely controlled panic. Screens around the room showed the last known images from Greenworld Colony, a peaceful agricultural world that supplied food to dozens of nearby systems. Now it was silent. Admiral Stone watched as the Stellar Alliance's Grand Fleet Commander, High Captain Starsong, outlined their response plan. The Alliance ships were beautiful things, all curved lines and glowing energy drives. They looked more like art than warships. "Our fastest ships will reach Greenworld in 6 hours," Starsong announced, their bioluminescent skin pulsing with confidence. "Our energy weapons are the most advanced in known space. Whatever threat has emerged, we will handle it." Stone stood up, drawing nervous looks from the alien representatives. "High Captain, with respect, let us send at least one human ship with your fleet. We have experience with combat situations." The chamber filled with dismissive murmurs. Coordinator Whiteleaf's skin flickered with what Stone had learned was their equivalent of a condescending smile. "Admiral, we appreciate your enthusiasm, but the Stellar Alliance has maintained peace in this sector for 300 years. This is hardly the time to test unproven ships." Before Stone could argue further, another emergency signal blared. A new message scrolled across the screens. 2 more colonies had gone dark. They weren't close to each other or Greenworld. Whatever this was, it was coordinated. "Multiple strike points," Lieutenant Wilson whispered to Stone. "This isn't random. It's an invasion." The Stellar Alliance fleet departed in a display of light and energy that would have been beautiful under other circumstances. Stone ordered the human ships to maintain combat readiness, despite protests from station control about aggressive posturing. Hours passed. The council chamber remained in session, with species representatives arguing about responses and responsibilities. Stone noticed that the Rockfolk representative, who had been so dismissive earlier, kept glancing at the human delegation with what might have been growing uncertainty. Then came the news that changed everything. The Stellar Alliance fleet had arrived at Greenworld and promptly vanished. All 40 ships gone in less than 10 minutes. The same happened at the other colonies. No distress signals. No retreat. Just silence. "Impossible." Starsong's replacements sputtered, their bioluminescence dim with shock. "Our shields are impenetrable. Our weapons energy-based." Stone interrupted, rising again. "Every single defense and weapon in your fleet relies on energy fields and plasma. What if that's exactly what the enemy expects?" The chamber fell silent. Stone activated a holographic display, showing the basic design of human warships. "Our ships use a mix of technologies. Kinetic weapons, physical armor, old-fashioned methods that your civilizations abandoned centuries ago. If energy weapons aren't working, maybe it's time to try something different. You want us to trust our defense to primitives," someone shouted. "To Deathworlders." The Rockfolk representative suddenly chimed in, their crystalline voice cutting through the noise. "The humans are right. Look at these attack patterns. The enemy knew exactly how to counter our most advanced technologies. We need alternative approaches." A new alert flashed. 5 more colonies had gone silent. The enemy was getting closer to the core worlds. Fear rippled through the chamber as the council species faced something they hadn't encountered in centuries, an enemy they couldn't immediately overwhelm with superior technology. Stone looked at his datapad, where a message from Terra's Pride was waiting. The human fleet was ready for combat deployment. All they needed was permission to act. "You fear us because we come from a harsh world," Stone told the chamber. "Because we're stronger, more durable, more violent than you. But right now, those qualities might be exactly what saves your people. Let us help." The council chamber erupted in argument again, but Stone could see it in their eyes and postures. They were running out of options. Sometimes you had to fight fire with fire, or in this case, fight an unstoppable enemy with the very people you'd been trying to keep at arm's length. The storm was coming, and humanity was ready to prove its worth. The first clear images of the enemy arrived 3 hours after the council meeting. Admiral Stone stood on Terra's Pride's bridge, watching the grainy footage with his command staff. The alien ships looked like massive black honeycombs, absorbing every energy weapon the Alliance fleet had fired at them. "Play it again," Stone ordered, leaning forward. "Focus on the impact points." Lieutenant Wilson adjusted the replay. The Alliance's energy beams, powerful enough to crack planets, simply disappeared into the dark surfaces of the enemy ships. But there was something else. A piece of debris from an Alliance ship had scratched one of the honeycomb vessels. "There," Stone pointed. "See that? Physical impact left a mark." The bridge crew gathered around, their earlier tension turning to focused interest. They had all seen it. The seemingly invincible enemy ships weren't immune to good old-fashioned kinetic damage. "Send this analysis to the Council," Stone ordered, "and get our gunners to load the tungsten rounds." The Council's response was faster than expected. Within minutes, the main screen lit up with Coordinator Whiteleaf's concerned face. "Admiral Stone, your observation about physical damage is interesting, but surely you're not suggesting we abandon our advanced energy weapons for primitive projectiles." Stone kept his voice calm. "With respect, Coordinator, I'm suggesting we use what works. Your energy weapons are being absorbed. We need to try something they can't absorb." "Barbaric," someone muttered off-screen. "Next they'll suggest we throw rocks at them." "Sometimes," Stone replied, "a rock is exactly what you need." Before the Council could argue further, new alerts flashed across every screen. 3 more colonies had gone dark, and this time there was a survivor, a small cargo ship that had managed to jump away. Its crew was broadcasting a warning to all channels. The footage showed what they were really fighting. The honeycomb ships weren't just vessels. They were parts of a single massive organism, a hive mind that absorbed energy and used it to grow stronger. Each attack by the Alliance fleet had only made them more powerful. "This is why physical weapons work," Stone explained to the stunned Council. "They can't absorb and repurpose kinetic energy the same way. We can hurt them." The Rockfolk representatives' crystals chimed in what Stone had learned was agreement. "The human strategy has merit, but their fleet is small. They cannot defend all our worlds." "Then teach us to build what we need," Stone offered. "Your factories, our designs. Together, we can make enough ships and weapons to fight back." The Council chamber erupted in debate. Stone could see the conflict in their faces and postures, their deep-rooted fear of human violence wrestling with their desperate need for a solution. A new alarm cut through the argument. The hive mind fleet had appeared at the edge of a heavily populated system. 2 billion people lived on its planets. The Alliance's remaining ships were too far away to help. "We don't have time for debate," Stone said firmly. "The human fleet can reach them in 20 minutes. We can save those people, but only if you let us fight our way." Whiteleaf's skin pulsed with rapid colors that the translator didn't even try to interpret. Finally, they spoke. "You have provisional authority to engage. But, Admiral," they paused, their glow dimming, "do not make us regret trusting Deathworlders." Stone gave the order immediately. Across the human fleet, crews rushed to battle stations. Railguns were charged. Kinetic missiles were armed. The ship's engines fired up, pushing their crews deep into acceleration couches under forces that would have killed most alien species. As Terra's Pride led the fleet into hyperspace, Stone allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had spent its entire history learning to survive against overwhelming odds. Now it was time to show the galaxy why Deathworlders never back down from a fight. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace directly into hell. The hive mind ships swarmed around the inhabited planet like angry wasps, their black honeycomb surfaces absorbing the desperate energy blasts from the planet's defense stations. All ships, combat spread. Admiral Stone ordered. Fire pattern Alpha. Show them what kinetic weapons can do. Terra's Pride shuddered as its main railgun fired. A tungsten rod, accelerated to a fraction of light speed, streaked across space. It struck the nearest hive ship dead center. Unlike the dissipating energy weapons, this hit had impact. The enemy vessel cracked like an egg, dark fragments spinning into space. Direct hit. Lieutenant Wilson shouted. Sir, they're turning to face us. The hive mind ships moved with frightening coordination, abandoning their attack on the planet to deal with this new threat. Stone had expected this. The human fleet split into pre-planned groups, their blocky, armored forms moving with surprising grace. They think we're like the others, Stone said, watching the enemy's response. They expect us to keep our distance and fire energy weapons. Let's show them how humans fight. Commander Taylor launched the Marines. Across the fleet, drop pods launched. Each contained 4 human Marines in powered armor, a concept that had horrified the Council species when they first saw it. The pods shot through space like bullets, too small and fast for the hive ships to track effectively. Sir, Wilson reported, his voice tense with excitement. First boarding teams have made contact. They're inside the enemy ships. The tactical display told the story. Where Alliance forces had tried to destroy the hive ships from outside, human Marines were fighting their way through the internal corridors. Their powered armor let them punch through internal barriers, and their physical weapons weren't stopped by the energy-absorbing surfaces. On the main screen, Stone watched as one of the massive hive ships began to shake. Explosions rippled along its surface, not from outside attacks, but from human Marines placing demolition charges at critical points inside. All ships pushed the advantage, Stone ordered. Don't let them regroup. The human fleet moved in closer, firing their kinetic weapons at point-blank range. The G-forces from such aggressive maneuvering would have killed most alien crews, but humans had evolved on a high-gravity world. They could take it. Sir, Wilson's voice cut through the battle chatter. Message from the planet's governor. They're cheering for us. Stone allowed himself a small smile. On every screen, the battle was turning. The hive mind ships, for the first time, seemed unsure. Their perfect coordination faltered as human Marines disrupted their internal systems. Their energy-absorbing surfaces meant nothing against rockets, railguns, and good old-fashioned explosives. 3 hours later, it was over. The system was secure. 5 hive ships had been destroyed, and 2 more had flood badly damaged. The human fleet had lost 2 small frigates, but their crews had managed to eject safely. The Council's response was immediate. The same aliens who had feared to let humans dock at their station were now broadcasting the battle footage across every channel. The messages poured in, requests for help, for training, for human ships to protect other systems. Admiral, Wilson called out, priority message from Coordinator Whiteleaf. The coordinator's image appeared on screen. Their skin was pulsing with colors that the translator identified as grateful and embarrassed simultaneously. Admiral Stone, they said formally, the Council has revised its position on human military assistance. We request immediate deployment of your fleet to other threatened systems. And they paused, their glow dimming slightly. We would be honored if you would teach our forces your combat methods. Stone looked around his bridge, at the tired but proud faces of his crew. They had done more than win a battle. They had shown the galaxy that being a Deathworlder, being primitive and violent, could sometimes be exactly what was needed. We would be happy to help, Stone replied. After all, that's what allies are for. The massive shipyard around Jupiter's orbit had never been so crowded. Alien ships of all shapes and sizes floated alongside human vessels, their crews learning what the Council species had once called primitive warfare. Admiral Stone watched from Terra's Pride's observation deck as a Brightarian cruiser practiced evasive maneuvers. The willowy aliens were struggling with the G-forces, but they were adapting. They had to. Their progress is impressive, Lieutenant Wilson said, handing Stone a status report. The rockfolk are doing even better. Their crystalline bodies can handle acceleration almost as well as we can. In the 3 weeks since the first battle, everything had changed. The Council had not just accepted human help, they had embraced it. Their advanced factories were now producing railguns, armor plates, and physical ammunition alongside their energy weapons. Admiral, the ship's AI announced, the Rockfolk Commander Rock Splitter requests permission to demonstrate their new weapon system. Stone nodded, turning to watch. The Rockfolk ship, once sleek and dependent on energy shields, now bristled with kinetic weapons. It fired at a test target, the recoil barely affecting its reinforced frame. The tungsten round shattered the target completely. "Well done," Stone transmitted. "Your modifications to the recoil system are excellent." Rock Splitter's response came back with a musical chiming that indicated pride. "We have learned that there is wisdom in the old ways. Our ancestors once fought with physical weapons, before we became too civilized, as we thought." The training session was interrupted by an urgent message from the Council. 3 more hive mind ships had been spotted near the Centauri colonies. But this time, they weren't attacking. They were retreating. "Show me," Stone ordered. The tactical display lit up. The hive mind vessels, usually so aggressive, were actively avoiding contact with the newly armed Council ships. They had learned to fear the combined fleet's capabilities. "All ships," Stone broadcast, "this is what we've trained for. Pursuit formation. Don't let them escape to warn the others." The response was immediate and coordinated. Human ships took the lead, their crews unbothered by hide turns. Behind them, Council ships followed in supporting positions, their new weapons ready. It was a dance they had practiced for weeks. The battle was shorter than the first one. The hive mind ships, designed to absorb energy, had no defense against the barrage of physical weapons that hit them from all sides. When Brightarian boarding teams joined human Marines in breaching actions, Stone felt a surge of pride. They had learned well. "Sir," Wilson reported, checking the battle damage. "No casualties on our side. The Brightarians are already sending repair teams to help the Rockfolk fix their minor damage." Stone nodded. This was the real victory, not just beating the enemy, but species working together, combining their strengths. The Brightarians' natural agility made them excellent at internal ship repairs. The Rockfolk's strength and durability made them perfect for holding defensive positions. Even the gas-based aeroforms had found their role, able to scout through spaces too small for others. Back at the Council station, the mood had completely changed. The same corridors that had emptied at the sight of humans now filled with aliens eager to learn from them. In the training halls, human instructors taught combat techniques while alien scientists helped improve human technology. "Admiral," Rock Splitter's voice came through again. "The Council requests your presence. They want to discuss expanding the combined fleet's operations. They think we're ready to take the fight to the hive mind's core systems." Stone smiled. The aliens had feared humanity's warrior nature, their strength, their endurance. Now they understood. Sometimes you needed people who knew how to fight, who had evolved on a world that demanded strength. Sometimes the very things that made humans dangerous made them the perfect protectors. "Tell them I'm on my way," Stone replied. And Rock Splitter, "Good hunting." Deep in enemy territory, the combined fleet moved like a silent predator. Admiral Stone stood on Terra's Pride's bridge, watching as data from their scout ships painted a picture of the hive mind's home system. What they saw was both terrifying and revealing. "Look at the energy patterns," Lieutenant Wilson said, pointing to the readings. "Everything flows toward that central planet. It's not just their homeworld, it's their brain." The planet was surrounded by a swarm of honeycomb ships, more than they had ever seen in one place. But something was different about these vessels. They moved sluggishly, almost like they were sleeping. Admiral, Rock Splitter's voice came through, their crystalline tones excited. Our sensors confirm your theory. The hive mind has a physical core. All their ships, all their drones, they're just extensions of the central nervous system. Stone smiled. This was what they had been looking for, a weakness. The hive mind wasn't invincible. It was just one massive organism, and like any organism, it had vital organs. All ships, battle positions, Stone ordered. Remember your training. Humans and rockfolk, you're our heavy hitters. Brightarians, your speed is crucial for the second phase. Aeroforms, stand by for infiltration operations. The fleet moved with practiced precision. Gone was the chaos of their early battles. Now they'd fought as one, each species playing to their strengths. Human ships led the charge, their thick armor and powerful engines brushing aside the enemy's first response. They're waking up, Wilson reported as the honeycomb ships began to move faster. Energy readings are spiking across the system. Right on schedule, Stone replied. Launch the Brightarian strike teams. Hundreds of small, swift ships shot out from behind the human vessels. The Brightarians, once so afraid of violent movement, now pulled maneuvers that would have made fighter pilots proud. Their natural grace made them perfect for precision strikes. The battle erupted into organized chaos. Human railguns and rockfolk, kinetic weapons smashed through the outer defenses. Brightarian ships slipped through the gaps, delivering their payloads, specially designed bombs that would crack the honeycomb ships from the inside. Aeroform scout team reporting. Wilson called out. They found a way through the planet's defense grid. Sending coordinates now. Stone watched as the gas-based aliens, once considered too fragile for combat, proved their worth. Their ability to change shape and slip through tiny spaces made them perfect scouts. They had found the path to victory. All ships, form up on my position, Stone ordered. This is what we trained for. Every species, every ship, every warrior. Together, we're stronger than they could ever imagine. The combined fleet moved as one, pushing toward the gap in the planet's defenses. Human Marines fought alongside rockfolk warriors in boarding actions. Brightarian pilots coordinated with aeroform scouts to find weak points. Species that had once feared each other now trusted their lives to one another. A massive energy burst from the planet tried to stop them, but the fleet was ready. Energy-absorbing panels, reversed engineered from captured hive mind technology, soaked up the attack. The planet's last defense had failed. Ground teams, prepare for deployment, Stone broadcast. Remember, we're not here to destroy their world. We're here to cut out the infection that's threatening our galaxy. As drop pods began launching toward the surface, Stone looked around his bridge. Humans worked alongside alien officers, their differences forgotten in the heat of battle. This was what humanity had always been meant for, not to conquer the stars, but to help protect them. Sir, Wilson reported, first wave has landed. They're meeting heavy resistance. But, he paused, grinning, the rockfolk are having the time of their lives down there. Stone nodded. The final battle for the galaxy had begun, and he knew one thing for certain. Win or lose, the aliens would never look at humans the same way again. The surface of the hive mind's world was a nightmare of twisted metal and organic growth. Admiral Stone watched from the command center they had established in a captured fortress as combined teams of humans and aliens pushed toward the central node. The massive structure pulsed with sickly light, sending commands to its drones across the galaxy. Status report, Stone called out, his voice steady despite the constant tremors shaking the ground. Human and rockfolk heavy teams are breaking through the outer defenses, Lieutenant Wilson reported. Brightarian strike teams are keeping the aerial drones busy. Aeroform scouts have mapped out a path to the central chamber. A massive explosion lit up the horizon. Through the observation windows, Stone saw a team of rockfolk warriors, their crystalline forms glinting in the alien light, smashing through a barrier alongside human Marines. The sight would have been unimaginable just months ago. Admiral, Rock Splitter's voice crackled through the comm. "We found something. The central node. It's not just sending commands. It's afraid." Stone leaned forward. "Explain." "The hive mind, it's not just a mindless swarm. It's intelligent, and it fears us. Not just humans anymore. All of us, working together. We've become something it never expected." The ground shook again, harder this time. The hive mind was throwing everything it had at them. Drones, suicide charged their positions. Energy weapons lit up the sky. But the combined forces held firm, using everything they had learned from each other. "All teams," Stone broadcast, "this is it. Push forward. Together, we end this today." The final assault was a symphony of cooperation. Human Marines used their strength to clear paths. Rockfolk warriors absorbed heavy fire with their crystalline bodies. Brightarian teams darted through gaps in the defense, placing charges at critical points. Aeroform scouts found safe routes through the chaos. Then they reached the central chamber. The hive mind's core pulsed before them, a massive brain-like structure wrapped in layers of living metal. It tried to defend itself with waves of energy that would have vaporized any single species. But they weren't single species anymore. "Now," Stone ordered. Human demolition charges exploded, creating gaps in the outer shell. Rockfolk warriors rushed in, their crystalline forms resistant to the psychic backlash. Brightarian teams flew through the openings, their natural agility letting them dodge the desperate defensive strikes. Aeroform scouts located the crucial nerve clusters. The combined attack hit the hive mind from all sides, in ways it had never evolved to resist. Physical and energy weapons struck in perfect coordination. Species that had once feared and distrusted each other fought as one. In its final moments, the hive mind tried to communicate. Its thoughts, broadcast in desperation, reached every mind in range. "Ho, you were all superiority. Weak. Afraid." Stone's response, transmitted through their combined communications network, was simple. "We learned from each other, and that made us stronger than you could ever be." The explosion when the core finally died lit up the hemisphere. Across the galaxy, hive mind drones fell lifeless. The war was over. 1 month later, Stone stood in the council chamber where it had all begun. But this time, there was no fear, no separation. Representatives of every species sat together, planning the future they would build. "The galaxy owes humanity a debt," Coordinator Whiteleaf announced, their skin glowing with sincere gratitude. "You taught us that strength comes in many forms, and that what we once feared as primitive or violent could be exactly what we needed." "We learned just as much from you," Stone replied. "Humans might have provided the physical strength, but each species brought something vital. Together, we're better than we ever were apart." The council chamber erupted in agreement. Where once humans had been barely tolerated, now they were celebrated. The Deathworlders had become heroes not through conquest or dominance, but by teaching, learning, and fighting alongside those who had once feared them. As Stone looked around the chamber, he saw the future, not just for humanity, but for all species. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger, not as separate races, but as one united galaxy. The Deathworlders had become heroes to the aliens, and in doing so, they had helped make heroes of them all.